And everybody should be seeing the screen. Let's go back to the original slide here, and we'll start our slideshow. Yeah, welcome to the IIoT and remote O&M for the chemical industry webinar this morning. We're going to do an overview, and then getting into supplier information. Then we're going to go into an analysis of the 20 largest chemical companies, and then a deep dive into the IIoT activities of 3 of them. And then this will be followed by an analysis of really how you can take IIoT to make sure that you're reaching your customers in a timely manner and with the right information for them. And the people that are participating today are shown here. I think we do have a couple more that just signed in, but you'll be getting access to, not to the slides, but to the recording, and of course their names and emails will show up as part of all that. So the what are we actually doing here? So McIlvaine's really providing support for industrial IoT and remote monitoring. And we have a whole strategic report and website with newsletters and webinars every other week at the very least, which bring together all the supporting information needed to succeed in the rapidly growing IIoT field. Many industries are covered in detail in the report, but today's hot topic is just the chemical industry. Recordings of the industries previously covered are all available on our website. So even without purchasing our report, you can go in and listen to those, but you can't get the PowerPoints without being a subscriber. And as you can see in an upcoming slide, we do have extensive market forecasting in each industry and for all the different components and so forth. And the report is constantly updated, and it's certainly a fast-moving industry, and I think almost without exception, all the suppliers are somewhat unclear as to how it's all going to play out and what their role will be. One thing that we do think is very important and seems to be overlooked is the industrial internet of what we call wisdom, and it will be an important revenue generator for the suppliers, and it already is, as we'll see in some of the examples here. And it will reduce revenues due to several things. One is increased volume and margin just of your standard products, let alone adding the smart sensing to it, but also new and better products, and we'll go into why that it will be the case. And then, of course, the service revenues that we've been doing webinars on the mining industry, and so your Australian mining or mining companies are talking about having all their personnel in Perth, and already the mining equipment, trucks and so forth, they're all being operated without people inside them. So these are the opportunities that are certainly available. And let's look at the overview here. The market for IIoT and remote O&M for the chemical industry is going to rise, in our opinion, to about $24 billion in 2024. So that's huge, and even grow faster at about 13% a year to reach $56 billion by 2030. But half of that market will actually represent revenues that are just going through other parties other than the traditional route. And the industrial internet of wisdom, as we talked about, is needed to empower IIoT. And an equivalent effort is really needed in IIoW to gather, standardize, and interconnect knowledge and people The successful companies in this new digital environment will be the ones who understand the value of IIoW. And we're making a modest effort, but I mean, when you think that how much is being spent on IIoT and how little on IIoW, the McIlvaine effort looks minuscule. But we are compiling data. We've started really with the power industry, where we have very comprehensive decision systems and beta sites for individual companies. But basically, as you can see here, we're attempting to pursue the 20 largest chemical companies, compiling significant IIoT and remote O&M data about the specific processes, components, and software. We are providing beta examples pursuant to, we have been in the knowledge business for 40 years, and our knowledge systems have been based on serving the 4 knowledge needs, which are alerts, answers, analysis, and advancement. And IIoW involves interconnecting suppliers and users, niche experts, and reducing the silos between industries and even between divisions in the same company. Here are I'm not going to go into some of the revenue forecasts other than to say, as you can see here, NAFTA and East Asia are certainly where the biggest markets are for the chemical industry. And now we're going to get some supplier examples. And Accenture, E&H, Anderson Hauser, Emerson, GE, Honeywell, IBM, Linde, Nalco, McKinsey, Microsoft, Northwest Analytics, Rockwell, Schneider Electric, SICK, Siemens, and Yokogawa. We're all going to have brief coverage of, they're all going to be covered briefly here. But I would encourage those of you who are so inclined to participate. And so I would certainly hope that when we display a slide relative to your company, that you would like to, feel free to volunteer information. If not, I will cover the subject as it shows up on the slides. So Accenture is relaunching its best practices for chemical manufacturers, and it's a powerful tool, certainly, for embedded analytics and enabling real-time decision-making and predictive simulation capabilities. So basically, the software is in place, and again, we think the IIoW is going to lend a lot to enhance the capabilities of software tools like this. Emerson we're going to be getting into a more detailed study of Emerson's activities with Covestro, but in this section we have a little on the Nexen chemical, and on that basis here, did Victor O'Brien or would you want to make any comments about the Nexen application? Yeah, if not, basically, Nexen selected the Emerson Delta V software capability, citing connectivity to field bus and device digital bus technologies. So a creative solution was actually delivered by Control-Tech with the resultant success that the system achieved. And we're getting more information on Delta V in the Covestro. GE software is being used by Blaser Swiss Lube, and has leveraged easier troubleshooting, increased productivity, and significantly improved process quality. It has also reduced energy costs by up to 45%. And certainly in a lot of these applications, energy cost reduction is important. And here is where we also get into all the components. So one way you reduce energy is reducing pump horsepower or pump operating time, etc. And that's one of the key components in a lot of these solutions. But we do have whole services just on the pump industry, and we have IIoT webinars just on pumps. So GE has a number of different tools in this whole area, and obviously is a big leader. But here is a petrochemical company that's benefiting from their asset answers, and so they understand the trends and improvements, and saw really savings of close to $1 million a year. So Honeywell is very involved in all the software, but we chose to focus here on another aspect of the situation, which is the IIoW. And because of their UOP activities and division, Honeywell is in a very good position to provide the IIoW along with the IIoT. And for instance, we picked one of their training courses here, which is distillation. And it's a very extensive training course, as you can see as it's outlined here. But obviously, there's a lot of wisdom that is being conveyed. And this is a basic level course for the operators of the distillation systems. But Honeywell has the knowledge to provide much more sophisticated wisdom to distillation plant owners. We ourselves, since we're involved in compressors, have been commissioned to do studies on mechanical vapor recompression, and do have a certain level of knowledge on improving distillation with MVR. So all of the activities in IIoT are going to be best delivered by open platform cloud-based services. The big transition is going to be from all these individual systems at individual plants to multi-plant, multi-process systems that are all integrated in cloud-type services. And IBM certainly has a robust set of cloud services with computing, storage, backup, SAP, security, unified communications, and the consulting and design to go along with it. And then this is a question that a lot of the suppliers are going to be asking themselves is, do they move forward with somebody like IBM and create a lot of their own services? Or are they just going to be a subcontractor to somebody that's using the cloud services of others? And so there's going to be a continuing searching for the best role for any particular supplier. And obviously the IBM has a lot of recommendations for the cloud services. Linde is both a large chemical supplier, but also a supplier of gases. But more importantly, it has a huge resource of knowledge, and one of the areas that it is supplying systems based on that knowledge is complete hydrogen plants for the continuous supply of hydrogen to chemical companies. and they have more than 200 hydrogen plants. But one of the important aspects of all this is the feedback that they get from the operating data and experience on 200 plants that helps them operate the new plants. So they own all these technologies in-house, including the complete range of petrochemical feedstock, manufacturing systems, etc., and of course the pure oxygen for the Linde separation systems. The hydrogen process is shown here, but one thing I did want to emphasize in this whole IIoT and IOW is that all the flow and treat aspects are critical in any of these systems. So you've got demineralized water, low pressure steam, you've got liquid feeds, you've got fuels, and then of course you've got gases like hydrogen on the, and you've got combustion air on the other end. So all these are liquids, slurries, gases, air, etc. And they all require pumps, valves, monitoring of various different aspects. And so whether it is a system supplier like Linde or a valve supplier, there is an important component in all the aspects that go into flow and treat. Did anybody from Linde want to add anything before we move on? Another aspect that Linde has is the supply of ozone generation systems, and so ozone is used in various different chemical manufacturing for esterification, but it's also used in water treatment and in wastewater treatment and the oxidation of NOx and air pollution control. But I think here's a good example of the need to eliminate the silos between industries. McIlvaine conducted 9 hours of webinars for Berkshire Hathaway Energy, and they had a $700 million problem if they install selective catalytic reduction, such as EPA has said will be the only way to solve their problem. But they have some unique aspects, and we happen to have actually done a year-long study for the predecessor of BOC gases, the predecessor of Linde, on this particular opportunity to inject ozone for the oxidation of NOx, and it turns out that this was a good answer for BHE, and tests are now in progress, and this could save about $200 million. But the bottom line is it's technology that's now being used in the refining industry that would be migrating to the power industry. So the consulting companies provide a lot of the wisdom, but they're basically on the how-to rather than the wisdom of the details of the best technologies. But they have the ability to integrate price curves, market forecasts, historical equipment performance data, and in the case of McKinsey here, 600 decision variables describing a plant's production yields under various operating conditions. So Microsoft Dynamics is used in 22,000 sites around the world, and it is being applied in the chemical industry by SAGlobal that provides a set of ERP solutions based on the Dynamics software. and allows the companies to optimize the value chain creation and facilitate safe manufacturing, improve logistics and delivery. Nalco is another company that we've been providing a great deal of information on in a number of the 12 webinars that we've conducted over the last 3 or 4 months. And they do have 24/7 remote monitoring and support. Nalco has prodigious process knowledge on water and wastewater technology, but also on some of the processes, and particularly when it comes to things like pulp and paper. And they have taken it to the next level, and they do have obviously integrated monitoring systems that can be used to communicate remotely to their 24/7 monitoring center. And a number of examples of their activities in this whole area have been presented in the previous webinars. Nalco's long been a wisdom provider as opposed to just a treatment chemicals company. And revenues and margins already depend on the wisdom as much as on the product qualities. We've been impressed with the willingness of Nalco to understand these processes. We felt it was necessary to develop what we called the McIlvaine mini scrubber because many people in the industry were misled by a cascade impactor testing to determine a selection of scrubbers to remove particulate. But since particles are not spheres and have different gravities, et cetera, you need something much more practical if you're going to size a scrubber based on any kind of an analysis. So Nalco was willing, to pay for a miniature device that would actually give that kind of data. So I think that is an impressive example of acquiring wisdom. So the Dow Analytical has teamed with Northwest Analytics, and who provides an EMI solution to take in data from appropriate sources, apply analytics, and to predict trends based on newly discovered relationships, and then present results to all levels within the company for strategic, tactical, and real-time purposes. Further on, we'll be showing a number of the Dow plants and the challenge of communicating with all these different types of operations. Rockwell is involved, and obviously with their Allen Bradley and other Square D and other acquisitions over the years, they've built up a very comprehensive IIoT delivery program. And here was a successful installation in a crop protection chemicals company. So the Factory Talk software, the process automation, along with supporting solutions, it gave the company faster time to market, improved asset utilization, and more and different products that could be made with the same tanks, and reduce total cost of ownership. Here's another example of a Whitmore Manufacturing that had 20 mixers that were not automated and manually operated, and now it's all been made automatic with the software from Rockwell, and the plant has reduced product variation significantly and increased production. Schneider Electric has more than 120 of systems in the chemical industry with their IntelliTrack software. And this is only a small part of their contribution in this whole area. In our pump webinar, we went into some detail about the software that they have to reduce pump horsepower, which of course is also critical to the chemical industry. We've got a number of examples here of the use of tunable diode lasers for the chemical industry. And one of the suppliers is SICK. And we chose to put up a example of the use of their TDL, specially designed for measuring oxygen in explosive atmospheres and complying with the code system. So again, you have to have some understanding of the hazardous areas in order to design this. And they are using us in the pharmaceutical and petrochemical and chemical industries. Did anyone from SICK want to make any comments on that before we move on? SICK, of course, is involved in all the other industries as well. So Siemens Comos provides tools for automation at DSM, and they've had a lot of success with the Siemens software. But Siemens also has tunable diode lasers that, and I talked to Warren Dean yesterday. He wasn't able to make the session this morning, but he did want to emphasize that in the chemical industry, they're measuring oxygen for safety purposes, measuring ammonia slip, and measuring oxygen in thermal oxidizers. And those have been the main applications for their tunable diode lasers in the chemical industry. Separately, another group at Siemens is using a different TDL approach from Zolo Technologies to do furnace mapping and actually combustion control. And this 9 hours of webinars that we did for BHE to help them solve their $700 million problem included better combustion control in the furnace. And the TDL's approach that Siemens offered looked to be a very attractive one, but there were alternatives as well. And for instance, GE has a neural network system that rather than measuring the oxygen at every point in the furnace, moves around all the dampers that change the location of the flows, and with their neural networks empirically determine what is the best setting for each of the dampers. But all of that was presented by not only Siemens and GE, but Emerson and Doosan and some of the other people. It's all in our Berkshire Hathaway Energy Supplier and Utility Connect. Yokogawa, Microsoft, Foghorn, Bayshore Networks, and Telit are collaborating now on IIoT. And Yokogawa's actually even set up an architecture development division in California, just at the end of last year, which will put all this together using Microsoft Azure, IoT Suite, etc. But Yokogawa is also very involved with all the different instrumentation. So they have a TDL as well, and they are measuring all these different gases that you find in the chemical industry. They also are involved with measuring ammonia slip in the power industry. And again, McIlvaine has taken the IIoW in the power industry to a fairly progressed fairly far along the way. And so we actually have presentations. This happens to be that I just picked off of Google here, but a presentation that one of the Yokogawa people made in one of our webinars. Did anyone want to say, well, we're going to be moving on to the Anderson Hauser information here a little bit later in Covestro, but anybody else have any other supplier comments? The next section here is going to be on how you deal with this huge potential. And we believe that having a flood of sales leads is part of the pre-digital era, and that a digital-based approach focusing on the largest, first of all, focusing on the largest opportunities in each of these industries is going to be the best route to success, and particularly for the international suppliers. For the local suppliers, they can probably cherry pick off some of the smaller companies, but the larger chemical companies, for instance, are going to be going to global sourcing, and therefore small numbers of people are going to be making many of the decisions. And the ranks keep changing. We have some more current information later, but for instance, DuPont at number 10 in 2015 is going to be linked up to Dow at number 2, and essentially will be the largest chemical company. But here are the top 10. Here are the 11 through 20, and you will see Covestro, that we're going to talk about in more detail, is in position number 20. And it is interesting that Linde is at number 13. Yara is at number 19, but they not only are furnishing the chemicals, but we've been covering, for instance, in our power plant webinar, IIoT webinars, Yara has set up remote monitoring of urea and ammonia at a number of the plants, and actually provides us sourcing as a service, and can measure the level of the urea and monitoring a tank, and set their deliveries based on that. So BASF is the largest chemical company, if not second with the DuPont merger. But they are in petrochemicals and monomers and intermediates and performance products, and in functional materials and agricultural solutions in oil and gas. And in the performance chemicals, they are a major supplier of water and wastewater treatment chemicals, and therefore a supplier of IoT services as well. And I'm not going to go into any considerable detail, but they are very much involved in IIoT, and are making presentations relative to how they're moving forward in this very comprehensive Industry 4.4 program that they do have in place. And it certainly includes things like the optimization and the attractive applications that they're integrating all along the value chain. The comparing where they've been to where they're going is the essence of this particular slide. And then procurement obviously is another aspect. And in fact, they have gone to central procurement. We've been involved in analyzing some of the things they're doing with valves. And the next couple slides here show how they are doing predictive maintenance. And it's interesting that they predict particular suppliers such as the Samson valves and Anderson Hauser instruments on they're both their wired and wireless maintenance. Would someone from Anderson Hauser want to comment on the program and the use of the Anderson Hauser instruments?
Yeah, this is Udo speaking from Anderson Hauser. One comment here from BASF perspective, what they or how they would like to use IIoT in their plant is to improve the maintenance process. Here in this slide is one example for predictive maintenance to get more information out of the field, out of their process, out of their sensors and devices. And here is an application with a cloud. In this case, it's a SAP cloud to select and collect all the digital data from out of the field, put it in an application, in an intelligent application, and create a dashboard to inform the end user about their process, to be able to do actually predictive maintenance in their plant. And that's a benefit of IIoT for BASF.
What parameters is Anderson Hauser measuring relative to these valves and some of the other? Is it flow?
Yeah. In this case, it's a flow application, and we have a lot of digital data inside of our flow meter to improve the maintenance process, to see, okay, what is going on in the pipe? Do we have a corrosion or something else? What is impact of the application and the accuracy of the meter?
Yeah, I think that is all very interesting. The other aspect of that is that the valves themselves can be improved. Number one, to provide more smart data about any leaks, but also to prevent the corrosion and some of these other things. And we have
exactly. How is it working, and what is the life cycle of the valves or of the meter?
And then the next step with this life cycle of the valves is designing better valves, and we have a whole website on high performance valves, and then deep dives into certain valve types, rising stem ball valves, choke valves, gate valves for more than 5,000 psi, and a number of other areas where there have been problems and there are ongoing improvements. So there's layers and layers, I think, of all these different systems, but wisdom is at the bottom of it. And by the way, with Anderson Hauser, we've been, for instance, in our ultra pure water webinar a few weeks ago, obviously there's a tremendous amount of process knowledge that E&H is displayed. Then also you might just want to well, this is, I think there's a couple more slides here, and so tell us a little bit about your ability to do analytical work with the Spectra sensors and Kaiser Optical acquisitions.
This is an example from Kaiser for ammonia application. We use here the TDR technology for ammonia measurement, and here is the application for that. And Kaiser, they have a deep knowledge for the ammonia measurement in the TDL technology.
So I think that so this amine is one example here, but with the acquisition of Spectra Sensors and Kaiser Optical, you've got dedicated centers of competence, staff with experts to provide customized solutions for each project according to the application requirements. So that is certainly a willingness on the part of an instrument supplier to take it to the next level. And then the amine treatment, which we used in the next example here, being another example here. But the interconnection of experts on specific processes is very necessary. Certainly the tunable diode lasers to measure gases are transforming other gas processing. So NH3 slip is another critical area here. But interconnection among industries is another important opportunity. And the Sinopec, which is one of the large chemical companies, is also the supplier. They're building a $30 billion syngas pipeline converting coal to chemicals that could change the smog situation in China by delivering a syngas all over the country at a relatively cheap price. They will eliminate a lot of the solid fuels that restaurants and small industrial enterprises are using now and creating all the smog in these cities. So the TDL activity for that huge program is certainly important. So the intercommunication really of all the wisdom contributors is going to be desirable. The end users in all these different industries, the component suppliers, system suppliers, and process automation suppliers. The Dow Chemical would be, the second largest supplier, and the merger with DuPont will make them the largest chemical supplier with over $70 billion in sales, and that at this point is moving forward. And the Dow is very active in the enterprise manufacturing intelligence and proceeding with that as well. So Sinopec is a huge opportunity in this whole area because of their total revenues of $294 billion, which is incredible. They're a refiner, they're a chemical company, they're really also a EPC supplier. So they are providing, they are building plants in other places in the world. And in this case, for instance, in just a couple months ago, bought 75% stake in Chevron's South African assets. So chemicals at the $50-some billion is just a small part of their total IIoT opportunity. And again, you have all this intercommunication, potential from building these syngas pipelines in China to refineries in Africa and a whole range of petrochemicals, natural gas chemicals, coal chemicals, and other chemical products. They are fast growing just within the chemical industry. In 2000, they were way down on the list. In 2012, they were up to 56 billion, and they're bigger now. And of course, the SABIC in Saudi Arabia is another powerhouse with revenues of $50.4 billion. So then the number 20 on the list is Covestro, and we have some information on a lot of their activities here as well. So the data-driven analytics is being utilized and was covered just recently by one of the people there at Covestro, as shown here. And this is his take on the Chemicals 4.0 activities that include 3 approaches to digitalization with different time horizons. In the shorter term, the company aims to optimize supply, innovating its day-to-day business by improving reliability and supply chain performance. Then in the midstream, Covestro wishes to leverage growth and innovate how customers do business with the company. Longer term, Covestro considers completely new digitally enabled business models. And here are some of their analyses of the emerging technologies and reality versus wishful thinking here. And the digital strategies do require integration from suppliers to customers. And there's a whole number of subjects that need to be considered in the navigating the digitization of the manufacturing sector. And these are some of the potential opportunities that exist. And they're involved in a range of chemicals, as you can see here, with the feedstock, the processes, the chemicals, and then of course their customers. And condition monitoring and some of these other things are being employed, but equally important is the fact that they are doing this on a worldwide basis, and they do have able to have cloud systems for all their different plants in the 3 continents of the world. Now the Covestro is using Emerson Delta V, and at this point in time, Victor O'Brien, would you like to make any comments about the Delta V used by Emerson? Yeah, if not, I'll just go through it briefly here. But Rich Gould was involved in a Emerson Global Users Exchange meeting here recently, and he shared his experiences here for Covestro that has 30 sites across Europe, Asia, and America, 8 of them production facilities. So they are a major producer. Of course, they're number 20, as we saw there. But these are all the challenges that they have, the regulations, the locations for the feedstock, the fact that the EU's manufacturing base is shrinking, and the shift in demand. So with all these challenges, they've started up implementation of digital manufacturing with 3 horizons. So they're optimizing supply, they're leveraging growth, and what they call start a new game. We needed to make business models digitally enabled. And so asking questions like how Google would run our business. But so the bottom line here is that they were working with Emerson, and they have a joint program to migrate to Delta V, and then upgrade to more system-based performance. So the wish list includes plug-and-play devices, package units, seamless data integration, auto-updated plant documentation, built-in IT security, sharing data and services, and then beyond own enterprise and leveraging joint expertise of Emerson and Covestro. Anything more that you wanted to add there from Emerson? Now, the last area here is how is all this implemented? And we believe there's a whole new digital environment that the world worked in a different way when you didn't have iPhones, email, web links, webinars, all these things that allow instant communication. And I certainly go back to the early days in Yakima in the 1970s when Linde would be waiting at the Yakima booth. They hadn't seen anybody from Russia for 3 years. And they knew that at the Yakima show, the Russians would come buy whatever they were going to buy for 3 years and go home. So but it's a whole different world now. You're not waiting 3 years, but between sales efforts. And the coming generation of decision makers are accustomed to speedy digital information transfer. We saw the ultimate demonstration of this when Andres made a presentation in one of our PowerPoint webinars, and a Michigan utility coincidentally had to make a quick decision, and a basket centrifuge turned out to be better than a gravity belt filter for this very specific application. And so they went ahead and bought the basket centrifuge without any normal sales calls from anyone here in the U.S. And it was the first one in the basket centrifuges in FGD in the U.S. So the digital world can be a powerful way to communicate. And at the next level, it is not only communicating with all the players, but to take the largest 20 or 30 companies in each industry. We've just shown you the chemical industry, but in the power industry, obviously, you have Wanheng and a number of the other very large Chinese companies who, for instance, they alone do more power plant activity than all the utilities in the U.S. But Berkshire Hathaway Energy is a good U.S. example because they have 2 to 100 different plants. Of course, they've got wind and solar and coal, and they also move 7% of the gas in the United States. So so we have a focus site just on everything that they're doing in all these different plants. And it's a way for the suppliers to move forward. And again, for the largest suppliers that are capable of dealing with a plant that wants global sourcing and a global IIoT, these large companies are certainly a good opportunity. And a similar system should be created for each of the large chemical companies. And in addition, gathering the information about these plants and people is now relatively easy. And so the other thing to keep in mind here is that IIoT is going to be generating millions of instant digital white papers about the performance of components and processes. So sales promotion will be less valuable, whereas extracting the IIoT wisdom and conveying it will be the road to success in this new digital environment. We supply monthly articles to Valve World, which is a KCI publication. And last year they ran feature articles about the whole valve activities at BASF and how they are doing global procurement, doing global valve engineering, and providing maintenance support for all their different plants. And Spiegel and Klinger and Huck, Kaiser, and Klein were all participating in those webinars and are the people making major decisions for valves. In addition to that, you've got a number of other people that are just involved in Industry 4.0. So what we did in just a few minutes on LinkedIn is to go in and pull out all these people who indicated activities in the 4.0 area. And then we picked up some of the plant managers as well. So finding out who you should be dealing with is not really a problem anymore. For these webinars, I personally have about 4,500 contacts relative to IIoT in the last 2 or 3 months, and find it's very easy to communicate on LinkedIn with all these people. And there are papers also being presented all the time by the senior people at a lot of these chemical companies. And here's somebody speaking at the World Industry of Things 2017, and his the take that that Netzer does have on where everything is going with BASF. And then they even have, BASF even has blogs providing the interconnection between individuals. And here is a junior expert for process optimization who is participating in the blog and has his perception of how he is going forward to implement the policies that BASF has outlined. And BASF has plant locations, of course, around the world. Some of our services, we've indicated the locations, for instance, of 30 or 40 of their plants in the U.S. There's easily available information about all the projects. They just announced a new project in Louisiana, so it'll be construction started in 2018, and will be an opportunity for all the IIoT providers. Beaumont has indicated $270 million production expansion for the herbicide there, and the plastic additives is being ramped up with the Macintosh site and a number of other things going on in the chemicals area. And in South America, over the last few years, there have been a number of expansions of the plants in that region. And South Africa has been upgrading with Wonderware. So it's relatively easy to get this kind of information on BASF plants. Another dimension here is that BASF is more than just a manufacturer of chemicals. They actually supply the treatment chemicals, and they're one of the world's major suppliers of treatment chemicals. And if you've listened to any of our other webinars, and particularly our one on treatment chemicals, the ability to remotely monitor and then control the addition of chemicals is a very powerful opportunity, and one that is being acted upon by a number of the treatment chemicals companies. So it is certainly a leading example of IIoT and remote O&M, and of course also the wisdom that goes along with it. And BASF has the opportunity with the interconnection of all the people with all the experience in the plants, along with all the knowledge that it has as a chemical supplier, a treatment chemical supplier. But in addition to that, it is also actually handling municipal wastewater and hazardous waste at some of its plants, such as at Ludwigshafen. So the opportunities for interconnection are huge throughout BASF. And here's an example, for instance, of what they're doing with cooling water treatment in the chemical and other industries with biocides and corrosion inhibitors and scale inhibitors as well. There is ample information now in this digital world about all the different plants, and here happen to be out of one of our databases the table of contents that when you click under Dow, and then if you go into things like their water discharges, you can see that one plant at Plaquemine is generating a flow rate of 550 MGD, and that's huge. That's the 550 million gallons a day is a very large outflow. A more typical one would be Pittsburgh, California, where it's only half an MGD. But that kind of information is available and helps you set your sights on what should be done at a particular plant. You can go in, we do have a site with all the industrial boilers, and you can go in and see, for instance, at Plaquemine, the BTU generation for each of F101, F103, and so forth here. And then when you click on unit ID, you get the emissions data for that particular natural gas boiler. So this is data that is all available there. And so basically, this is the end of my presentation. And it is, in summary, that we believe that the chemical industry is going to be a huge market for IIoT and remote O&M, and that wisdom will be important for the suppliers to penetrate that market to the maximum degree. And finally, that the routes to market are there in this new digital world. Before I sign off, are there any questions or comments that anyone would like to make? If not, the recording will be posted on YouTube and will be available. And of course, we would like to talk to any and all of you about our report that is available and is continually updated. And you'll also see that we do have a range of new webinars coming up. Pharmaceutical is next in a few weeks. And then we have others set up through the rest of the year. And you can go back in and click on the recordings for the last 12 that have been done over the last 3 months. So again, thanks for spending the time with us this morning, and we look forward to working with you. This is Bob McElvain signing off.